search the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. When you came along and put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. There's not a
the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
Take all I have in these hands and multiply, God, all that I am, and find my heart on the altar again. Set me on fire, set me on fire. Oh, take all I have in these hands and multiply, God, all that I am, and find my heart on the altar again. Set me on fire, set me on fire. Here I am, God, arms wide open, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. My heart stands in awe of your name. Your mighty love stands strong till the end. You won't fulfill your purpose for me. You won't forsake me. You will be with me. Here I am, God, arms wide open, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. Here I am, God, arms wide open, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. All to Jesus now, all to Jesus now, holding nothing back, holding nothing back. I surrender, I surrender, I surrender, I surrender. Here I am, God, arms wide open, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. pouring out my life, gracefully broken. I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. When you came along and put me back together, desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. Your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing
Happy Snow Day Sunday, New Life. I know you're probably snuggled up beside each other drinking hot cocoa and enjoying this amazing snow day. And you might have thought you're getting out of church today, but how about we have something else going on? Why don't you go ahead and grab the kids and get everyone in the room and let's have church. It's going to be good. If I can, I'd like to tell you a little bit of a story to start our snow day message off. When I was a kid, man, I always loved the outdoors my whole life. But when I was a kid, I thought it would be amazing to be able to adventure out. I lived beside a pretty nice sized farm that was adjacent to a bunch of land, and I always would kind of sneak out of there and get into those woods and try to explore, right? And find things and build forts and do all kinds of things like that. It's always fun. I can remember being a young guy when one time I went further than I ever did exploring these woods, and I happened into this pasture. I had to cross over several fences, and I thought I was big stuff, you know. And I was so amazed when I found my first spring. There in this pasture was just flowing this little stream, this tiny little stream right there coming out of this pasture. And I was so elated because in my young adventurous mind, I had made a major discovery. Fresh water that I could drink in the wilderness. You know, I didn't have to go get it out of the tap. And so excitedly, the next opportunity I got, I went back to that stream with several cans that I could put water in, and I brought it back to my house and excited to show other people. Now, of course, from the moment I found it with my friends, I just started lapping that water up and drinking it. And I took it proudly home to my mom, and I showed her as like, I found a spring, and I showed her the water jug that I had gathered this spring water in, and she just kind of looks at me a little oddly. She didn't say anything, she just looked at me oddly, but of course I was all proud, and I drank that water. And you might know where the story goes. That water didn't sit too well with me. And the interesting thing is the next time I went back to my amazing discovery of the stream, there just upstream, I discovered something else. And there was this massive, beautiful cow patty that had dropped right in the spring upstream for where I was getting my amazingly fresh spring water. And that look my mom gave me is a look I think I still give people today. It's kind of that look of, let's see how this rides out. I'm not real sure this is the best decision, right? And I don't know about you, but in life I've made many of those decisions, and life kind of works like how that situation with the stream works, for me anyway. I make some decisions that aren't oftentimes good in the end. And I always make decisions because I think initially they're going to be good. This is going to be good for me, or this is going to result in good, or I'm investing in something good, but that isn't always the case. That is oftentimes what I find is happening is I'm actually trading something good for God. Or excuse me, I should say it the other way around. I really function under the whole premise that God is number one, right? I think we're all here. If we're Christians, we have this core belief that God is number one. He holds that position in our lives, and we should be living in such a way that is shown, and that's kind of what defines how we are in our very being. But many times life is full of distractions and things that we have to do. And I don't think any of us put our hands to the plow of doing things that aren't what we would consider good, right? But how many times you get to the end of that road, you've drinking that water, and you think, man, this has not been good. This, in fact, has pulled me away from God. Sadly, life often looks like that, doesn't it? It's easy to be drawn away from God just to do things. And I don't know about you, but right now I have a myriad of pursuits, good pursuits, that present themselves to me in my life. And, here you are, you're sitting at home, it's a snow day, maybe you're at work, maybe you're not, maybe you're with your family, I don't know. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do with this Sunday? You didn't make it to church. What are you going to do to capitalize? How is God going to be number one in this day? And really in your life, I hope that you can take a little piece away from what I'm saying and maybe make this day a little more redeemable, but also the life pursuits that present themselves to you, the many good things that are in your purview right now. Now I want to look at a lesson from the Old Testament, a story and really just something that's said to the Israelite people. Jeremiah was a young prophet, a young man, when God called him to start to be the voice for him to the nation Israel. And when he calls him, here in the first chapter, it speaks all about that. But in the second chapter, we get the very words of God that God wanted to convey to a whole nation, a nation of people that had now lived hundreds and hundreds of years in the promised land, the land God gave them, a land flowing with milk and honey, a land that was destined to be theirs. And, a good God gives good things. And oftentimes good things, again, become a distraction from our good God. And that's not why God gives us good things. It's supposed to pull us to God. It's supposed to draw us to God. But we never want to, once again, trade God for good. We never want to trade God for good. And because what good becomes many times is an idol. And this is what we see happening in the lives, I believe, of the Israelites here. Jeremiah chapter 2, God starts off and he says this, "The word of the Lord came to me. Go and proclaim in the hearing of Jerusalem. This is what the Lord says. I remember the devotion of your youth, how as a bride," God is referring to this nation as his people, as this young bride, as they had a young love that they once shared. He says, as a bride, you loved me and you followed me through the wilderness and through the land not sown. God had brought them out of Egypt and brought them to this promised land he had given them and betrothed this to him. And there they resided in a good place, in a good thing. And as this prophecy continues, it says this in verse 4, "Hear the word of the Lord, you descendants of Jacob, all of you clans of Israel. This is what the Lord says. What fault did your ancestors find in me that they strayed so far from me? They followed worthless idols and became worthless themselves." I don't know about you, but that's a stabbing statement. I would never want to be called worthless. That's a pretty low kind of position when you have devalued in such a way that you're now worthless. And what brought them to a place of being worthless was following after, loving, and devoting themselves, not to God, like they did once in their relationship with him, but devoting themselves to idols. Now, we know Old Testament idols were foreign gods carved in stone and wood and presenting themselves in many different ways. And today we don't have those around, but as we've talked before, idols exist in so many ways. It's anything that we offer our heart, a devotion, or anything we treasure more than God. And in our lives, usually those things start as good things. I don't think any one of these Israelites who slowly started to consider other gods or slowly considered how this piece of stone wouldn't hurt to put in their house too. They worship Yahweh, they worship their God, but we'll put this here too, and perhaps that would bring us some blessing. I don't think that they considered that bad when they did that. They probably considered it good, an addition, something else. But soon that would become so much of a focus that it would completely derail the number one position God had. Now, have you ever seen that happen in your life? You ever seen you get very excited about a new change or new thing happen, and you go to tell someone about it, and they give you the look my mom gave me when I showed her that bacteria-ridden water? I know it happens to me. I'll be in my office, and someone will come see me, excitedly telling me about a new relationship or a new shift in life or a new thing, and I kind of give the same look of, I'll see how this rides out. Because what I'm sensing is this could very easily become an idol. Something that is going to fight for the position of God's number one place in your heart. And I don't know where you find yourself in that. Of course, even our jobs and our children, our families, the very things we hold dear can become those things. But for the Israelite people here in Jeremiah, they didn't see this coming. This was a slow fade, like so often it is for us when we take in these good things and they end up becoming God to us. And I'm not saying that idols are good in any way, by the way. Let me make sure that that's clear. But for them, I think they saw it as an addition. And how many additions do we have in our lives? How many, just distractions and things? For me, man, this happens all the time. Like, I'll give you a great example of this. Right now in my basement, it's a complete mess. Because I have a project going on where I'm trying to finish a room. But in my basement, in the far corner, is where I like to spend time with God. It's my little cove that I've made, where I have a desk with my Bibles and books and things, and it's a nice little nook where I can tuck away and pray and be alone and be quiet with God, right? But in order to get to that now, I have to cross past a few obstacles, spiritual obstacles. And that is my wood stove, which calls to me in the winter every morning and every night, and every time it gets cold, and every time I walk past it says, you got to stop and you got to put some wood in me. And then there's the next thing. The next thing I see on my way to that is this project, this room that I want to finish. And there it is, sitting, calling and saying, I'm not done. You need to work on me. You need to finish. You need to do this. And then if I can make it past that, there is this beautiful, huge TV that my wonderful brother gave me. And that TV says, hey, come sit and enjoy me. And then at the end of that, I could finally make it to my place, right? This space where I want to go find God. Now, each one of those other things are good. Sometimes they're very necessary things. But each one of those things distract and pull away and keep me sometimes from ever making it to where I need to be. With our relationship with God, this is how this slow fade often happens, right? Because what happens is when we take a good thing or a necessary thing or something that's really busy and taking a lot of our time, and even if it's a good pursuit, before long, we've invested so much in it, we've completely forsaken God. Listen to what it says in the latter part of this chapter, actually in the middle, as it gets to verse 10. It says, I want you to consider something. God is helping to wake them up. He says, cross over in your mind to the coast of Cyprus, or look down to see Kedar, and observe closely. These are other places where people worship other gods. And he's saying, listen, see if there has ever been anything like this, ever. Has a nation ever changed its gods? Has a nation ever changed its gods? Is God's question to them. He says, look at all these other people. You have slowly faded into a place where I hold no position in your life, and now you worship these other gods. Has this ever happened, God says? But he says, my people have exchanged their glorious God for worthless idols. Be appalled at this, he says. Shudder with great horror. That's strong language. And it's fitting though, isn't it? And I just never want to find myself, and I know I do, even recently I found myself, trading off time with God, his position, giving him what he's due for simple, silly materials, things that don't have eternal value. And today, as you look around your house, as you enjoy this snow day, I want you to consider what it would be like if we could make a place, make a space, make it a priority in our lives that we could always say, yes, we have things we have to do. We have good things, but we're never going to trade God for good. That God gets the first, he gets the best, that God gets our time and our love and our effort, and out of that flows everything else, because God is ultimately the life source. Jesus said he's the wellspring of life, and he wants to well up inside us. But we got to go to that well. That's why, that corner little nook in my basement, We could refer to it as a spring house. A spring house. And I'd actually like to show you what I mean when I say that. So why don't we take a little adventure? Well, guys, I thought I'd come and bring you to a friend of mine's house here at Bella Vista here in Martinsburg to show you what I'm talking about as far as a spring house. Many of you have probably seen something like this before at an old farmstead or something like that. But this is one of the coolest spring houses I think I've ever seen. The whole idea is you have this natural spring bubbling up in the ground somewhere, and people would build a structure around that to protect the initial pure water that comes out of there from all the debris and rain and falling snow or leaves or anything that could get in there. And they would do that to have pure water. Come on, let's take a look inside. So here we are inside of this here spring house, where you can see literally the clear, pure water coming up from the ground, and where it's being protected by the house. I do this because how this chapter we've been looking at, Jeremiah chapter 2, kind of is going to culminate with God telling them exactly what they've done, giving them an interesting analogy that I want us to pull away with from here. And this is what it says, starting in verse 13 in chapter 2. It says, "My people, they've committed 2 sins. They have forsaken me, the spring of living water, and they have dug for themselves their own cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water." Now, to me, it's a pretty interesting analogy of the 2 sins that they've been accused of. Like I was talking to you before, the pull for us to be involved with so many things is very apparent every day of our lives. And so many good things, right? Things that we think would be good but end up turning out not to be. Much like a cistern. I don't know if you know what a cistern is or if you've seen one. I know when I was a kid, there was an old house that had fallen down near us, and when we'd go in our little adventures, my mom would always say, "Stay away from the cistern," because it was a big, deep hole that they had dug. And oftentimes in the old days, people would have a big hole that they filled in with tiles, bricks, or whatever, to just catch the rainwater and catch the water and hold water to use it. It's a system of people use to have water. But compare that to this beautiful, natural, pure spring popping out of the water, or popping out of the ground. And then compare that to this hole that you dig, and you let anything fall in there, dead animals or whatever, all kinds of diseases and things people get from cisterns. It's something, well, we don't really use it much anymore, right? Now, God is saying, listen, your first mistake is you forsook me. You took me lightly. You said, this matters more than me. You glossed over me, and you just like me walking through my basement. There's so many things I could gloss over God for and busy myself with good things, but things that would then maybe turn to idols, maybe become sin. Just because I'm forsaking God for something else. The second sin is you didn't just forsake me in this moment. You didn't just take me lightly and do this, but you actually got so drawn off course that you just dug your own. You stopped coming to me at all. You dug your own cisterns to hold your own water, broken cisterns that would never work, never hold water. And instead, here I am. Here I am, the living water, the wellspring of life. And it's just, it's just the kind of scripture that I come face to face with, and I hope you are too. And it just reminds me, what am I doing? Why would I do that? Why wouldn't I come to the source? Why would I take a lesser of any? Why would I take something that the Creator made as good and make it a thing that I say is God, instead of going to the source of that and say, of course, this is much better. Well, for you and your snow day, I hope that you can sit and contemplate. You could talk as a family about how you all can come to the source, come to the very pure source that is God, the wellspring of life that wells up in you. And maybe you can start to decide for a family or yourself, what's going to be your spring house? You know, for me, like I told you, in the corner of my basement, I have this little nook where I can go, and it's protected from all that distraction. It's protected from the impurities of the world and the things that can kind of taint. And I can go to the source and I can get focused. And that's what this was meant for this. And if I want to go to the source, maybe I need a place that it's going to be unprotected and undistracting, so that I'm not going to get pulled away from other things. And I hope that this connects with you, and I hope you have a great snow day. It's Pastor Ryan signing off. Praise God.